Hello and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. I'm so excited for you to be here today in another episode with a very special international guest. Today, we're talking about taking care of your wealth and honoring your worth with TEDx speaker, author, and founder of the Wealth Conservancy, Myra Salzer. Myra, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here, Steph.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. I've been reading up on you a little bit, and I've actually heard a recent another podcast you did, and you have so much knowledge. And I've been on a little bit of a financial literacy journey in recent years, so it's really
Oh,
great to
good.
talk to. Even my husband said to me last night, "You're learning so much, even just for yourself with this podcast." I said, "I am this year. I've honestly learned so much and read so many books from my guests that." I feel like it's more that I'm educating myself as well and just taking along the listeners for the journey. So I'm really grateful to have you here. And may I ask you, before we dive into all the juicy stuff, did little birdie tell me that you might be doing tap dance lessons? Is that true? You weren't
I
expecting that.
was doing that. Yes. It's
Yes. Tell
so
me about
fun.
that. Do you
And
enjoy it?
I do. I do it in my own time. I'm not very good at people telling me what to do and when to do it. So I don't do classes or
Is that?
anything, but it's all online and I can
How
decide which
fun.
dance to learn and go at the
Oh, I
speed. And
love
I
that.
start a new dance at about half speed, and then I slowly speed it up until I get to doing all the steps at full speed.
I really like that. I actually haven't heard of that more sort of controlled online learning. So you're going at your own pace. I really like that because if you're doing something new, it can be a bit daunting. And when you're
Yeah,
doing things like that, it's not about being brilliant at it. It's about having an outlet. Like you need to
yeah.
play. You need to do something that's a hobby to just, give you an interest. I was a dancer in my youth, Myra, and I have a fair few trophies that I can't get rid of. They're in my garage, but I would say about 80% of them were from tap because that was my forte. And I think it's such
Really?
a lost
Oh,
art. I never
yeah.
hear of people
Oh,
doing tap dancing anymore.
yeah.
And my nan, when she used to pick me up after school, would put on old Gene Kelly movies. So I had a very deep love for tap dance. I think it's just so
Singing in the
beautiful. So
rain.
yeah. So what a great pastime. I love that. It's very different to what you do for work, but that's what I like about that. So talking of work, let's get into the juicy stuff. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do in helping your clients to take control of their wealth?
Yeah, thanks. Um, our clients are mostly people who have inherited their wealth and significant wealth, so much that there's nothing they could do in terms of earned income or getting a job or anything that would impact their financial well-being.
Mm.
And that has a profound effect on someone's relationship with their money, if that
Mm.
makes any sense. Because when you receive money that you haven't worked for, your net worth is up here, but your self-worth can be way down here. And so our
Doesn't
job,
match up.
right, our job is to work with you on the social components, the psychological components, the what is your relationship with money, what is your self-esteem, and get that up so that they match rather than getting that down so they match. So it's all a
Yes.
rise.
That makes so much sense. And I think if you're, this is my view of it, if you're someone who's never been around wealth, it's very hard to have that relationship with it or have a sense of feeling worthy of it. And I know that there's a lot of people that when they get money, they have this sense of, I have to spend it to get rid of it because I'm uncomfortable with it, just because you don't have uh, you're not familiar with being around it. So that makes sense to enter you would need someone like that to get you. And I always think that finance, I talk a lot about manifestation and a lot of the two big areas of finance and romantic relationships, but I always say that both of them come down to self-worth and people not feeling worthy of them. Is that something that you find in your work?
Absolutely. And I think when you have been raised with wealth but never earned it, you're it's a constant reminder that this is something that is in your life without any control, that you have no control over. And it's a very different feeling than if someone, even at a young age, an athlete or something or performer that has earned a lot of money. At least it's through a cause and effect relationship that they
Okay.
have. There's something they did, there's something they got.
Okay, so I
And
do hear of a lot of young sports stars. They might burn through their money, and I think Mike Tyson's probably a good example. He ended up bankrupt because they didn't know how to control it. But they can also look back that they have worked since they were a young child towards a career that earned them that money. Whereas if someone got inheritance or won the lotto, they might feel like I don't really deserve it because I didn't do anything to earn it. When a lot of the self-help things you read are about your self-worth sort of means that you're worthy just being born, just being you. You don't have to prove your worth. So I guess that's why, yeah, clients with inheritance have trouble with that. Well, on that, I'd love to know more about how you help people identify if their net worth and self-worth are misaligned, and if so, how you help your clients realign this.
yeah, we have a life coach, wealth coach that is a colleague at the firm, and she has an 8-week program that helps people identify what their relationship with money is. And once that's identified, and that course is called Way into Wealth, and it's a one-on-one with her, and each client gets a keen understanding of what their relationship is with wealth, what their archetype is with wealth.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
because
Yeah,
some people are accumulators and some people are, risk takers and, just,
yeah.
and she has a program where she can profile everybody. And once the client understands that, then they can get some clarity about where they want to go with it all.
Okay, that makes sense. So when you're talking about archetype, oh, can I ask what the archetypes are?
I don't know them right off the
Yeah,
hand because
sorry. No, no,
but
that's fine.
one is called a maverick, one's an accumulator. Um,
Okay.
it's there are 7 or 8, but
Right.
it's not my program, so I don't
No, no,
want
no,
to
that's fine.
speak to
That's
that.
fine.
But
Don't worry about
that's
that.
the first step in
Let
terms
me
of
ask you,
understanding.
do you think it's environmental of how people uh, develop their archetype? Is it sort of the things they've heard growing up around, family, peers, school? Is that sort of what determines your archetype?
I think I'm guessing that that has a lot to do with it. If you've
Yeah.
grown up poor, that you, money is, I don't know, just not to
Unfamiliar.
be unfamiliar and um, hmm, I shouldn't speak to the archetypes because I'm not an expert on that. Now,
That's fine.
once someone does find a that they have inherited money, then they definitely go through some specific stages that they
Mm,
have to go through with their relationship with money. And that first stage is an innocent stage where, we're all start with that. We all
yeah.
get mother's milk when we're hungry. We all get,
Yeah.
everything we want is taken care of. But people who come from families with significant financial resources
Yeah.
will stay in that innocent stage for a long time.
Okay.
And they may never have been told, no, no, you can't have a new bike. You have to have your brother's hand-me-down tricycle or whatever. No, you can't this. No, but when you have an abundance of financial resources, it can be a lot easier to just write the check than to say no.
Mm,
And it's not until that first no comes about that someone that goes to the next stage where they're in denial of the wealth that they have and they pretend it doesn't exist and they hide it and they don't open their statements and everything. And it's not until someone gets
mm.
into the ignorant acceptance stage that they can say, "Oh, this is a reality in my life.
Okay.
I don't know what it means to me. I don't know if this means I can spend $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month. What is this? And what is my satiation level?" So, but once you get to the ignorant acceptance stage, then you can start working on learning and growing. And that's the fourth stage, learning and
Mm.
growing, understanding, getting educated, getting integrated. And that integrated, once you become an integrated authority, the fifth stage, then then you can control what you want to control and delegate the rest. It's not that you need an investment manager. It's not that you need a tax preparer. It's not that you need advisors, but that you understand enough to delegate the stuff you don't like. I don't like doing the bookkeeping. I can
Yeah.
delegate that.
Yeah.
And that's what we call an integrated authority, the last stage of inherited wealth.
Great. Yeah. But that's a smart thing to do. That's what all business people say. If you're not educated in an area, don't worry. If you don't want to learn about it, hire someone to do it. Delegate to people where it's their field of expertise. I don't know if you have, I don't think you have superannuation there. I think you call it a 401k or something in the
Mhm,
US, but
mhm.
our superannuation, like a percentage of our pay, is taken by ATO, the Australian Taxation Office, and put into your superannuation fund, whatever you delegate. And I'm in like one of the big ones, but there's self-managed funds. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and he knew someone with big wealth in the sporting industry who lost a lot of money. And he said, I don't mean this is to be rude, but why would you think that you would know more than someone who has spent their life educating themselves on these funds that you could do it yourself? But that makes sense. You should be
Yeah.
delegating to someone who has the education.
But delegating wisely, learning enough to
Mm.
delegate wisely is really important because there are a lot of shysters out there.
Absolutely. Don't you think, though, Myra, that there should be, I don't know what it's like in the US, but shouldn't there be more education in school? And I'm talking even back to primary school into high school, or what do you call it there? Grade school into high
Mhm.
school. I was never taught anything about wealth at school. Were you? About
Yeah.
finances? Nothing. You?
I remember my kids several years ago were taught, they had an economics day where they had a
Okay.
whole village where, there was they had their own stores and they started with a certain amount of money and they
Oh,
could,
I like that.
sell. And I mean, it was just, and that was about it for education.
Yeah, not
And
a
it was
lot.
more entrepreneurial than it was budgeting or um,
Yeah.
any investments of any sort. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe there are other schools that do it. I went to a performing arts school, so we were basically doing dance, drama, and music a lot. So maybe I missed out on that because I was too busy with the performing arts. Do you ever see, Myra, a power struggle in romantic relationships where one partner earns a lot more than the other? And if so, what can be done to overcome this? And I
I
would
like
imagine
that
it would be a
question.
little different between male and female, but that's just my personal assumption.
Yeah. I like that question for several reasons. Firstly, yes, it's, when there are fiscal unequals and one is dependent on the other, it's it can be really awkward for both parties because, who likes to be dependent?
No.
But so you don't like to be dependent, so you get a job so that you can earn something, so you can make a contribution. And then how is that fair when your partner who has the financial resources can travel and do, I mean, it's really hard to justify. And it's harder when it's the male who is not the inheritor because it's emasculating. Still,
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and I don't think, and I'm a staunch feminist. I don't think it's misogynistic to say the men biologically or evolutionary have this thing where they feel like they want to provide, and and my husband is so my equal and my friend, but he definitely feels that burden on his shoulders, like it's my job to provide, and I think that's just something built into them, and it's not
yeah.
something I'm making him feel. That's just how he feels. So, yeah, I would imagine it would be a bit more difficult emotionally or psychologically. for the men. Funnily enough, the fastest growing homeless rate in Australia is women over 55. And they believe the reason for this is that I saw a really, really upsetting documentary where so many of them would be married for decades and years ago, especially stopped work to take care of the home, raise the children, which I am realizing now is a full-time job in itself. These children, you can't just look after them for a few hours. It's
Right.
24/7 care.
Yeah.
And then they didn't get paid into their super, which is for their retirement fund, for decades. So the husbands might divorce them in their old age. They're out on the streets, some in their 60s, 70s, 80s, living out of their car. So that's just tragic. And that, I think that's what women are realizing. No one wants that feeling of the rug being pulled out from under you. You want to have that independence. And I think finance has a lot to do with independence. And I personally have seen a lot of women stay in emotionally or physically abusive relationships because they don't have the means to go somewhere else. So it definitely is a huge part of life, your financial health,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, totally. And when, a wealthy person is someone who has enough that they can live and get what they want when they want it.
Mm,
It's that simple. And as if you're not there, and you don't have to have billions to be there,
yeah.
um, but if you're not there, there's this constant conversation you have with yourself of, oh, can I get this or that? It's not on sale and that is, but I don't
Yes.
like that as much. And there's always compromises and it wears people down.
Down. I completely agree. I always say financial freedom to me is not, I couldn't give a shit about designer handbags, fancy cars. I do want a nice home because I'm a Cancerian. My home is my haven. But I always say to me, financial freedom is to say, if someone invites me to a restaurant, I say, yes, I can eat there without checking. No, I have to wait till next pay because I just want to be able to say yes to opportunities and not think, can I get that? Can I buy that for my son? No, I better wait till next pay. It does. It makes you feel not in control. And I think
Right.
being in control just makes you feel more comfortable. Absolutely. We sort of touched on this a little bit earlier with the lotto winners, but people often believe that winning the lotto will fix their financial issues, but very often they have the same money habits just on a larger scale, which is why many tend to lose all of their winnings in a short period of time. Could you please explain a little bit about why you believe significant wealth is a personality amplifier?
Ah, so when when you have when financial resources are not a challenge, then
Mm,
what's basically there can be developed without the distraction of having to create financial resources, find money.
mm,
And so you can really focus on what is your natural inclination. If you tend to be a philanthropist, you can be a great philanthropist. If you tend to be an entrepreneur, you can be a great entrepreneur. If you tend to be a hypochondriac, you can be a great hypochondriac. And
yeah.
so you get real amplified personalities. So I know you said you were a dancer before. And you
Mm,
probably had to make a lot of sacrifices in order to dance, to pay
yeah.
for the lessons, to
Mm,
travel, to perform and
mm,
everything. But when someone has the financial resources that it's a non-issue and the chauffeur can take them to the classes and you can do or have private
mm.
tutor or travel the world for competitions or whatever,
It removes
then
obstacles, money.
it removes obstacles and allows one to just focus and be their natural selves. And so that's how we get the amplified personalities.
Right. I sort of think of money as like alcohol. It doesn't make you bad or good. It just amplifies who you already are. It
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
hones in on it.
Yeah.
You work with many people who have come across their wealth via inheritance, divorced, or widowhood. What is the best advice you can give for those to ease into their new financial situation?
Stop. Just stop. Don't do anything unless you have to. If you can put off making decisions, especially irrevocable decisions, for a period of time till you get your footing understand what you have.
Mm,
And that sounds so simple, but when you're settling an estate or you got a settlement from a divorce, or I mean, you have to take the time to really understand what you have, how much income is it producing, or how much is it going to cost. I mean, it can take months.
mm,
And during that period of time, if you can just stop and not make any decisions about
right.
your money, about
Is that
your
what you find
investments.
people do? They quickly spend because they're excited they have it, and then it runs out quicker than expected?
No, I think that we get back to the amplified personalities, and if they're spenders, yeah, they'll have, but if they're scared, if they're coming from a sense of scarcity, like this isn't, mom's not going to die again, you
Got
know,
you. So
and
some people
then,
hoard
oh
and are
yeah,
fearful to
oh yeah,
spend. Okay.
yeah,
Right. Okay. So would you recommend getting like a financial advisor or someone to help you learn what to do with that inherited wealth?
absolutely. If you don't feel like you know yourself, and few people do. But yes, a fiduciary advisor is
Okay.
really so not someone who's selling a product, not someone
Yeah.
who wants to manage your assets, not
Right.
someone who's going to charge by the hour and take a lot of time, but someone who's a fiduciary who has to legally hold the client's interest above their own.
Okay. So it's impartial. That's great advice. Do you believe that our current society demonstrates wealth prejudice? And how do you believe this is harming us?
Absolutely. Um, Especially for inheritors,
Right. Because
because
people are a bit
there,
jealous, like you didn't work for it, you don't deserve it.
yeah, there is a
Mm,
prejudice, and they get no respect, even though they have done absolutely nothing except getting born. That's
mhm.
all they did to be in the position they're in, and yet people immediately have a hostile envy towards them.
Envy. Envy. Yeah. I just I'm just happy for people when they do well. I never get that
Yeah,
jealous thing like you don't deserve it. I'm just always like, good for you. Like
yeah, yeah,
Louise Hay always says that when you see wealth, you should say, good for you. And that's for me. Like
yeah,
that, you know,
yeah.
I look forward to
That,
being in that position. Any sort of envy just puts out a very yucky energy, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
What are your top tips for anyone listening today to improve their financial situation and increase their wealth?
Well, you're assuming that listeners want to increase their wealth or need to increase their wealth. And that's, I think, a mistake that gets made a lot is that there's this mindset that accumulating is a good thing.
Okay.
And that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes giving it away now, whether it's philanthropically or to people, your kids who at a stage where they need it,
Mm,
or it doesn't have to be that you're better off by accumulating, by growing your assets. So I think
okay.
that mindset needs to shift and getting a perspective. Now, a lot of people, it does mean that,
Yeah.
and but it's not categorically absolute 100% should be accumulating and investing well and growing their assets.
Okay, that's not what I hear. I feel like there is a lot of scarcity around where I live. And there's a lot of people that own homes, but the property prices in Sydney where I live have grown not in line with the salaries are increasing like that and the property's increasing like that. So what used to be a $500,000 home, I'm looking at median prices in my area that are $3 to $4 million homes, and some of them don't even have an ensuite or a pool. They're just average looking homes. So
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is unless people have uh, either got that inherited wealth or have made really good decisions, people are living scarcely paycheck to paycheck and feeling a lot of financial scarcity and fear, which is affecting other areas of their life, like their health and their relationships.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a horrible way to live paycheck to paycheck and
Yeah.
hope that you don't get a flat tire or just
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean it's
And you
just
will because you're focusing on it. That's what I find. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly.
Mm.
So that demographic, yes, accumulating is is probably not the first step. It's probably getting out of debt first. That's
Yes.
most important.
I hear that a lot in finance books. Do that first and look at them and maybe pay off the one with a higher interest first, or there's all different methods. But
Exactly.
that I many years ago was in, I'm talking enormous tens of thousands of dollars of debt. I was in just average salaries, and it's not even funny how just all of a sudden the debt came upon you. I wouldn't even say there were any big purchases. I was just living
Yeah.
beyond my means. And all of a sudden, and I used to have nightmares of tsunamis all the time. And and it stopped when I got out of debt because I truly felt like I was completely out of control, like I was being swallowed up whole.
Mhm.
And, I ended up for 1 year working 3 jobs, but I sat down and looked at what I could do. I ended up, you know, combining them all into one debt, paying that off, being completely debt free. I'm now rent vesting, owning, renting where I want to live, and owning investment properties to build the wealth. And I can't even like believe how quickly I got out of it when I was in that bad situation for so long. But it was really, I think I was terrified to look at my financial situation because it just terrified me. And once I did, and take a breath and take a beat, I was able to make those decisions to claw my way out of it. But I would agree with you, getting
Good
out
for
of debt
you.
needs to be the first place.
Good for you. I mean, really
Thank
pat
you.
yourself on the back.
I do
Seriously.
frequently. Yeah.
Yeah, that's remarkable and inspiring.
Yeah. And I will say, I would like to say it was all me, but it was definitely when my husband entered my life because he has very good financial literacy that I have never had. So it was really sort of him educating me. I just sort of, it came in and I spent it. It came in and I spent it because I was thinking, oh, I'm going to live my life while I'm young. But all of a sudden, you're not so young. It comes so quickly. So I was really grateful to have that financial literacy from him. And I continue my education on my own too, reading a lot and listening to financial podcasts. So, um, sorry, I read that question. Oh, we're on to the last question already, Myra. My goodness, that went around quick. You've had a very impressive career and seem to value a very simple lifestyle in your personal life. If you met your 18-year-old self today, what would you tell her?
Ooh. Um,
Could be finance related, not finance
yeah, yeah,
related.
yeah. I, boy, I would think that the question is leading one to say, what mistakes have you made? Or what did you do when you were 18 that you wish you hadn't done? And while I didn't travel a lot and I didn't, do a lot of the experience. I went straight from high school to college. I was a chemical engineer and I worked and you know, I probably would do it again because it's what I needed to do to be financially secure. And when it when I was there and learned I am a terrible corporate employee and
I hear that.
I am not employable, then that's when I started the Wealth Conservancy.
Wow. I like that so much, that answer. I feel like you caught me out there because you're like, it sort of does reflect people's mistakes. And I really like how you're saying none. There were no mistakes. I like that
Oh,
so
I made
much.
mistakes.
But
Don't
you
get
do
me
them
wrong.
again. You do
Yeah,
them again, right?
yeah,
Because of the direction it took you. So I think you're saying you very much enjoy the place and time of your life that you're in now. Would you say?
yeah. I am a very happy camper.
I love that so much. And I can see I'm getting that from you even through the screen that you're very confident and comfortable in your own skin. And I think that's so lovely for women to hear too, having that just comfortability and love for yourself, but also taking control of your finances. I think it's just a great example to set for younger women. So I appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
for this time. You had great questions
Oh,
and
good.
you're a good listener,
Oh,
which
thank you.
is lovely.
I don't hear that often, Mara. You're quite the opposite. So I appreciate that. No, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and for being a part of the podcast. And everyone, I hope you got a lot out of this. If you could please leave a review if you enjoyed it, and please do something in the next week to fill up your cup.